Ex-long haul trucker here. I wasn't on the road for very long collectively. I don't have any Route 666 ghost stories or anything like that. But I do recall one night in particular. Basically, I was driving through Montana headed east, and my company had miscalculated my mileage, so I requested an emergency fuel up. I got a response with the nearest gas station that I could get approved at. It wasn't exactly close, so I turn off the main highway and head towards my stop. It's pitch black, there's no moon, no city lights, and I haven't seen any headlights for about an hour. I'm cruising down the highway, and I see something in the middle of the road, at the furthest extent of my headlights. So I slow down, naturally, as I approach it. I get one good glance at it, and slam on my brakes as I pass it. All I could think was, what the fuck did I just see? So, I back up, looking in my mirror until I see its red silhouette in my brake lights. I pull my brakes, put on my jacket and grab my flashlight, and hop out. I walk to the back of my trailer and put my light on it, and there it was. A headless, skinless, mangled corpse. I froze, and my jaw dropped. I didn't know what I was looking at. I just stood there, in the middle of the highway, in the cold stagnant air. The only sound is my truck, 50 feet back, watching the steam rise from this pile of meat. There was no fur, there was no clothing, just a fully intact ribcage with a mess of other miscellaneous bones, attached by ligaments. I debated calling the police, as the ribcage looked big enough for someone my size, but I looked at my phone and had zero cell service, and the nearest town was about 50 miles out. And when I put my phone away, I flashed my light around, and standing at the end of the road were a handful of coyotes staring at me. Then they started trotting my direction. I figured this is the part where I get back in the truck before I get into a situation, so I did, and continued on my way. I still, to this day, don't know if it was human or not, but whatever it was, and whatever happened, I was almost a witness of. I convinced myself that it was more than likely a deer, and was hit by another truck like mine at highway speeds. That would definitely do significant damage, but in retrospect, I've never seen roadkill missing its flesh before. So, yeah, paranormal? Not at all. Creepy? Fucking A. There are some pretty scary places in this country. Gary, Indiana, East St. Louis, Camden, New Jersey looks absolutely fucking terrifying in the daytime. But driving in the Navajo Nation late at night always makes me a little uneasy. I wheeled into Shiprock, New Mexico, late on a Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Stray dogs just prowling around the desolate city streets, punctuated occasionally by cars blowing through red lights at top speed. A different night, late, on US 160, between Kayenta and Tuba City, Arizona. A very lonely, very dark road. The speed limit is 65. I start slowly coming up on a car a few miles per hour below that. And once I get close though, the car suddenly drops down to 35 and sits at that speed with the hazard lights on and me stuck behind it. I'm wondering what's going on. If another car is going to appear out of nowhere and try to run me off the road, rob me, or worse. No cars coming from the other direction. No cell service. A single lane, can't risk a pass because the road is so dark and windy. I finally found a straightaway, got around that car and got the hell out of there. Probably wouldn't have thought much of it on some country road in Ohio, but out in the desert, your mind just goes to strange places. The Navajo Nation can sometimes feel like a pretty lawless place. This is my dad's story. Just to explain, he's ex-British Army, not scared of anything, and super practical. He became a lorry driver around 1975, and this took place not long after he started. So, this happened about 5 a.m. on a summer's day. It was a bit misty out, like you get some mornings early, but bright, and he was heading out of London on the A3. He's driving his lorry, and up ahead was a young woman, early 20s, in a long blue dress, standing by the side of the road. It must have been before the A3 was dueled, and all the barriers were put up. So, Dad sees her, thinks she's waiting for a ride to work. Just as he's about to go past her, she jumps in front of his lorry. He immediately slams on the brakes, as he's sure he's hit her, but he didn't feel a bang or any sort of impact. A couple of cars stop to see what's going on. Dad shakily explains, and the drivers kindly offer to stay while he looks for her under the lorry. Dad looks, and she's not there. Other drivers look, and there's nothing. No body, no blood, no sign of anyone. They all freak out a bit, and then decide that leaving is probably the best idea. He can't explain it. He knows she was there, and that he hit her. He spent the rest of his driving career avoiding that route. I was driving through the back roads of Arkansas around 3 a.m. Suddenly, I hit a dense fog bank. It was so thick that I knew I should have pulled off the road because I could barely see in front of me. But sometimes, pulling over can be just as dangerous. So, I slowed down to about 20 miles per hour and put my hazards on. I see no other cars coming from the other direction or behind me. After about 15 minutes, I start seeing humanoid shadows illuminated by my headlights darting around the sides of the road and across it. It made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I saw maybe 5 or 6 of them. I never got a good look. All I saw was shadows darting back and forth, but they were definitely human-shaped. Needless to say, I was freaked out and wanted to get away. I sped up a bit, and after about 5 minutes, I came out of the fog bank. It ended just as suddenly as it came. I sped away at my allotted 65 miles per hour, and I didn't stop until the sun came up. I was on a night run to deliver fuel to Gonzaga, which is on a desert road in Baja, Mexico. Me and my companion were driving when some asshole started tailing us really close and flashing us with these really powerful off-road roof mount lights. This went on for about 15 minutes, and I was considering pulling off to let him pass, but there wasn't a safe place to do so. Since it was November, around the annual Baja 1000 off-road race, we thought it was one of those typical drunk racing crew guys with expensive tuned trucks coming down from San Felipe, a standard spring breaker beach town. So we take a turn in the road and find a spot to pull over. And the lights passed us, and then went straight into the sea before pitching up super fast and disappearing into the sky. We're just staring in silence for about a minute before my friend asks, "Did you see that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm laughing, but completely terrified. We didn't talk about it for the entire ride home. I was driving through Kansas on the I-70 one night when I hit one of the craziest thunderstorms I'd ever seen. It was so bad that the road started flooding a bit, and I had to pull into a service plaza and wait it out. That's when the creepy part happened. As I was sitting in the truck watching the storm, there was a series of lightning strikes, followed by a blackout. Suddenly, a massively bright light starts moving behind the clouds. Too slowly to be an aircraft, but too fast to be part of the storm system. It moves up over the hills and trees before crossing directly overhead and then disappearing behind the service plaza. The transit from Treeline to Plaza took maybe 5 to 10 minutes tops, and while I was overhead, it cast everything in an eerie blue glow and lit up the parking lot. I seriously thought aliens were invading or some shit. Anyway, I shit you not, within 10 minutes of the creepy light disappearing, the rain completely stopped, and the parking lot lights came back on, like someone flipped a switch. I got the fuck out of there while looking in my mirrors for spaceships, or those alien walkers from War of the Worlds. If anyone has any thoughts on what the fuck this might have been, I'm all ears. The memory still bugs me, as I'm not prone to conspiracy theories, or crazy outlandish beliefs or anything like that. I've considered stuff like ball lightning, refracted sunlight, or even military aircraft, but none of those seem quite right for how massive the light behind the clouds was, how localized to a specific part of the sky it was, and the speed at which it moved. I just don't know.